Hello, 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 ladies, and welcome back to our 30 days of faith driven high performance cells. Okay. I'm so excited about today's concept. Remember, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about leadership, and today's title is Creating Content That Serves, Not Performs. So, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back, as I said, to 30 days of faith, confidence, and high income skills. I want to start with something that many people experience but rarely admit. Okay? You open your phone and you think about posting something. Maybe you have an idea and suddenly you feel pressure. Your thoughts may start racing and maybe you say, what would I say? And what if it's not good enough? What if nobody watches? What if people judge me? What if I sound unexperienced? What if I embarrass myself? I know that's a common one that I've even thought my own self. And instead of sharing, you close the app. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much about how you will be received. Today, we are going to talk about why content feels exhausting and how to create content that actually feels aligned, peaceful, and powerful. Okay? So, let me give you some scriptural foundation that you can anchor yourself to when we're talking about who are you working for? When you're making your content, I want you to anchor yourself to Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. And we're using the NIV version, and it says, whatever you do. Now, if you've been watching our series, I've used this verse so much because it's so powerful and so important as you are pursuing your purpose, as you are pursuing your business. But it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as if you're working for the Lord and not for men. It doesn't say whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as if you're working for yourself to look as good as you can. But it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as if you're working for the Lord and not for human masters. Now let's sit with that for a moment, okay? If your content is created for approval, pressure increases. If your content is created for as service, peace increases. The audience changes when the intent changes. If you're performing for people, you will feel anxious when you're doing your content. If you are serving with integrity, you will feel clarity. Okay. So let's talk about performance versus service. We're talking about service. We're talking about serving people. Performance mindset asks, how do I look? Will this go viral? Do I sound impressive? Will this make me seem credible? But service mindset asks, will this help someone? Does this solve a problem? Can this encourage someone today? Performance creates anxiety. Service creates consistency. Bryn Brown said, authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be. I'm going to say that again. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be. Letting go of that version of you that you think everybody's waiting for and being yourself. You see, there's somebody out there who wants to get to know you, the real you, because they resonate more with the real you than the polished version of you. And just because you resonated with somebody else's polished version doesn't mean somebody else doesn't resonate with your raw version. When you try to perform, you chase an image. When you serve, you build influence. When you try to perform, you're chasing image. But when you serve people, you build influence. And that is what you need to do. So, we're going to talk about why performance leads to burnout. Okay. When people try to perform online, they compare constantly. They overthink every post, they chase trends, they copy voices that aren't theirs, and they lose authenticity. Comparison drains creativity. Sarah Blakely once said, "Don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength." You don't need to sound like everyone else. Performance seeks applause, but service builds trust. Trust sustains long-term growth. So if you want to be around for a long time, and we talk about my company, my business, my consulting firm called Building Foundations. Building Foundations is not to build superstars and get you rich overnight, but it's to help you to build a strong foundation that will last when the storms come, when it gets tiring, when it's not fun, when you're not motivated. What are the things that you have set in place to keep you going, to get you to the places that you're supposed to go? So let's talk about Jesus, right? Jesus and teaching without performance. Jesus never performed. Jesus didn't try to impress people with complexity, but he used simple stories, everyday examples that were so relatable to the people back then that we have to decode it for our time, because we didn't live with cows and oxes and yokes and seeds and planting. I mean, there's probably a farmer out here. Maybe there's a farmer listening. If there's a farmer listening right now, comment seed so we can know who you are, because then you really know about that stuff. But the us that are here in the 21st century, we're not farming. We're not working with, lambs and crops and things like that. And so we have to interpret scripture based off of what he said back then. But when he was talking to the people of that time, he made it clear. He made it plain. He brought it to their language. He brought it to something that made sense to the person who he was speaking to and communicating to. He was the greatest communicator of all time, right? So Jesus, he used simple stories. He used everyday examples. He used clear language. He did not perform intelligence, using big words, trying to show off who he is, but nobody knows what you're talking about. He communicated truth. Clarity reaches more people than complexity ever will. I'll say it again. Clarity reaches more people than complexity ever will. Leadership communicates clearly, not impressively. Have you ever worked at a business? Let's just go to the basics, right? My first job was at Wendy's. I can't imagine if at the time I was like in high school. I can't imagine if the owner of the company came in and they were like, "Hey, the ROI of our company is 26%, and if we're going to increase this, then we need to." And they're talking all this business language, and I would be looking at them like, "What? What are you talking about? What ROI? What is that?" No, they come in and say, "We need to make more burgers within the next hour. And if we're going to make more burgers, then we need to have a clear process and blah, 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 blah." And they make it plain for the people that they're talking to so that they can understand what it is that they're saying. Leadership communicates clearly, not impressively. I didn't walk away from that conversation saying, "Wow, that CEO is so smart." I walked away saying, "Oh, I feel inspired. I can do the things that they're asking me to do." That is clear communication. That is what leadership does. And sometimes we overcomplicate because we're afraid simple won't seem powerful. But simple is powerful. Simplicity is power. So let's talk about what serving content actually looks like, okay? Let's make this very, very practical. Serving content looks like teaching a lesson that you recently learned, sharing a mistake and what it taught you, answering a common question, encouraging someone who feels discouraged, and explaining something in simple terms. You are not creating content to prove your expertise. You are creating content to guide growth. Oprah Winfrey once said, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." Turn your wounds into wisdom. Everybody wants to know that their pain is for purpose, right? That you're going through this for something. Why not let somebody benefit from your pain by turning your wounds into wisdom? Now that is content. Your experiences become guidance. Your growth becomes leadership when you turn your wounds into wisdom. What does the Bible say? They overcome by the power of their testimony and the blood of the Lamb. See, when people know that somebody made it through the same situation, just like I shared in one of the other videos, when my sister-in-law shared her testimony with me, and I was able to grab a hold of that and say, if you could do it, I could do it too. When people see me getting online and doing the videos, and it's like, oh, you're the girl I know. If you could do it, I could do it too. When people see me living for God and they know me to be the me that they know, they're like, huh, I always thought that was for like perfect people, but I'm looking at you and I'm saying, if you could do it, I could do it too. Content. Content is your experiences guiding people to the light. It's you saying, hey, I know where the light is. Come with me. Let me help you. Let me show you. Let me develop you. Let me teach you. That is serving with your content. Now, simple, relatable content is where you need to be. If you're new to this stuff, have your simple, relatable content. And I'm going to give you a framework right now, 3 things that you can put into play so that you can have simple, relatable content. Now, here's the structure that I want you to follow. Write this down in your notes. Name a problem, share a lesson about the problem, and offer encouragement or action. For example, the problem. I used to struggle with inconsistency. The lesson. I realized that I was waiting for motivation instead of building discipline. Encouragement. Start small, and one day at a time, your habits will grow. That's it. No theatrics, no overproduction, just clarity, consistency, because consistency builds familiarity, and familiarity builds trust, and trust builds opportunity, and opportunity is what we are all looking for. So I want you to have this internal shift that's going to happen in your mind, okay? Take this internal shift. Let me ask you something gently. What if someone needed the message that you are afraid to share? What if your hesitation is delaying someone else's clarity? Silence feels safe, but service requires what? Courage. Service requires courage. Courage grows with repetition. You don't need to be perfect to lead. You need to be honest. So I'm going to do a quick identity shift with you. This is the mindset that you need to have. You are not an entertainer. You are a guide. You guide people. And guides show up consistently, not perfectly. You hear me stuttering through all of these little videos, but I don't care because I know somebody needs me. And I can't wait till I'm perfect, but I'm going to show up today. When you shift from performing to serving, everything changes. Your tone softens, your pressure decreases, your consistency increases, and your influence grows. And over time, people begin trusting you before they ever speak to you. And that is leadership. Okay? So I hope that was a blessing to you. And if this helped you to take pressure off of your content creation, comment the word serve below because leadership begins when we stop performing and start helping. And if you have been watching this series, high ticket sales is beginning to make more sense. Not as hype, but as structured communication and leadership. I created a free mini course that explains it very clearly to you with no pressure, no exaggeration, just clarity. And if you would like access to that course that is 100% free, I want you to comment the word course below and we will send it over to you, okay? And when you get that course, I want you to take your time with it. I want you to go through it to really see if this is an industry that makes sense for you. Service builds trust. Trust builds opportunity. So remember that as you go throughout this day. And I wish you the best on your content creation journey. Okay. So we're going to see you tomorrow. We are finally at session number 25. I cannot believe that we have done 25 days together in the mornings. If you're just joining us and you haven't been on one of our premieres, we premiere these videos daily at 8 a.m. every day for 30 days. So we only have 6 more days or 5 more days left. Well, today would be 6, but 5 more days left. And so I don't want you to miss our days. Jump in with us and then go back to the beginning and watch the beginning because it is so powerful, right? And so I want you to know that tomorrow, session number 25, we are going to talk about how to speak so people trust you online before they even meet you. Now, this is for our women, our ladies. How to speak in a way where people will trust you before they even meet you. Okay? So I pray that God blesses you, that He keeps you, that He shines His face upon you. And remember, we say Godspeed because God is at the driving force. He is the driving force of every single thing that we do. So Godspeed, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.